All right, we're back. And just to see if I'm getting any kind of sound, I am. Yes, I am. We are COMP229, which is Advanced Web Application Development here at Centennial College in the fall 2016 semester. And I've just gone and given a bunch of you guys X's when I checked around your work to see if you guys had started your assignment 1. Don't despair. I'm checking this week, and this week you get a free pass. When I come around, I'm not going to get you to lose marks. But there's going to come a time when I give you stuff, I will tell you there'll be a lab that I'll come around again just like this. And if you haven't started, you'll get 0, right? Which is a bad thing. You'll lose 2% right off the top just for not starting, right? So I'll tell you in advance. There won't be surprises that you'll have that stuff happen. It could take the place. It's like a quiz. Think of it that way, right? And so when I come around and give you guys something to do, if you're not done, if you haven't submitted yet, if you haven't started, and it'll happen at any time. I'm telling you now, from now until the end of semester, right? It'll be like a pop quiz. It'll be like a lab equivalent. I'll make it like that. And either you did it or you didn't. So either you get like 0 or 2, right? Sometimes they give you a 1 if you did half the work, but kind of started, but kind of didn't. Not exactly what I was looking for, but mostly you'll get either a 0, a check, or a 2. All right, so I'm going to do that with you guys. I want to do a couple of things today. I want to review some of the stuff we talked about last week because we kind of made some applications last week. Let's see if I can switch over to on the PC side. We're going to be talking about sessions this week and application objects and storing data inside the session object and the application object, as well as cookies and how we can store data longer term by the use of cookies, right? And what those things are. I want you to think about all those things before we start as container objects, okay? They're just containers that are going to be used to keep track of your data. And we're going to be talking about that today. But first, let's review, right? Before we start off with anything else. So I'm going to go File, I'm going to click New, and we're going to do a new project here today. I'm going to be using the web project, ASP.NET Web Application, and notice that I'm going to use the .NET Framework 4.6.1. Now you can use other framework versions, but it doesn't make any sense. Please do not check, I'll say this again, do not check Application Insights. That's an X, okay? Do not check it there. If you check this, you'll have problems if you deploy to Azure and other places. Next, in here, I'm going to call this thing COMP229 Fall 2016, and it'll be lesson 3. Hopefully I named this thing correctly. Now that I'm checking, maybe I did it wrong. Lesson 3, that's right. I did it right. Lesson 3, and then that's what it'll be, lesson 3. And I'm going to store it in, of course, the proper folder, COMP229. There it is. I'm also going to have create new Git repository checked. Now, if you're loading Visual Studio for the first time, you'll say something like add to source control down here. Please check this, whatever it is, whether it's add to source control or create new Git repository. Otherwise, you will not be able to save your files locally, and your Git will not work. Okay, so you have to have this checked in order for that to happen. And click OK. All right, last time we did a couple things. We checked web forms the first day. We checked this one the last day. We're going to do this one again, empty, with web forms. Right, so I'm going to kind of start from scratch here. Please do not have this checked. Do not include Microsoft Azure Hosting Cloud, right? This is not the way I want you to do it. This would actually populate things almost like you're using some form of FTP. It's going to connect with your container or try and create your container here, and it will not use GitHub. It will use your files to publish directly to Microsoft Azure. That's not what we want to do in this course if you're using Azure. Okay, press OK. Last time we explored a couple things. I'm going to go a little quicker just to catch us up because all this is review. All right, so it's nothing new that we're going to be doing in this first part, just to review because we need to do that. Some of you have only seen ASP.NET Web Forms one time, pretty much. And some of you weren't even here the first day because people are still coming into the course after day 1, right? So the first day you didn't see this. So here, when we click that little X or the check mark without clicking the web forms, so not fully fledged web forms, what we have here is a bunch of files. We're going to be exploring the web config file a little bit today more, which is your configuration file for the application to understand what this thing does for us. Okay. Notice also we have a global.asax file. Okay, this is really important as well. So global ASAX file and the web config. We're going to be talking about these two files today, right? And what they do for us, right? Because in future iterations, as we move forward in these lessons, next week again, from a schedule perspective, we're going to start with data, right? And in order for us to start with data, there's a couple things you need to do, which we'll talk about. I'm also going to be giving you project number 1, which you can use, or to do with a partner. I would recommend that you don't do it alone. When I give you group work, some people choose to do it on their own. It's a hell of a lot of work to do on your own when you can combine with somebody else and split your tasks. There's a lot of stuff to do. Okay, so the first part is you get this little folder. If I was going to start a brand new project, like let's say to create your project for assignment 1, since we're starting today, half of you, more than I would say 90% of you haven't started, right? You're just starting today. Again, I would start off with my folders, my project folders, which are, what are they? What are the 3 folders that I want you at least to create every single time we make our projects? Assets, content, and scripts. You should have those 3 things at minimum, right? So let's make those really quickly. So I'm going to go add, new folder, right? Assets. I know you think this is a waste of time, but truly people haven't done this, and you're going to get marks for this, right? Content and scripts, right? So there's the second one, scripts. Okay, so content, assets, content, and scripts. You're going to put in assets. You may want to do a couple things, because remember, you're going to be including some other stuff. I'll make another folder here in your assets folder. I'm going to make another folder with lowercase. I'm going to call it images, because this is where I want you to put all your images, right? All your images should go in the images folder, right? In your assets. You might have other assets, okay? For example, audio. I don't know why you'd want that. Most modern websites do not use audio, right? But if you had audio or fonts, any custom fonts, you'd want to put them in here, all right? Assets. Mostly images go in here, and I make it a subfolder because it's not just in one big folder. We don't do that typically. We want to split it off. Content, I'm going to use CSS in here. That's where that's going to happen. And scripts, any JavaScript or any other scripts we're going to be using are going to go in there, which we're going to use Bootstrap as well as Font Awesome. That's what's going to go into our content and scripts jQuery, okay? So that's what's going to happen here. And you're going to have another file that comes up that says fonts. Fonts is also going to be generated by Font Awesome. So before we start anything, because I know I'm going to use those, I'm going to use the NuGet package manager, right? So I'm going to go into my solution this time, right-click, and I'm going to go add, actually, manage NuGet packages for solutions, what I really want to do up here, right? And inside NuGet, I'm going to see that I want to browse for some new packages. One of them is going to be called Bootstrap, right? Because you're going to need that. Here's Bootstrap. I want to make sure 3.37, that's the latest version of Bootstrap. I want to include it for this project only and click Install. So there we go. There's Bootstrap. It's going to install jQuery 1.9.1. Leave it alone for now. We're going to change that version in a second. Okay, so that's done. So Bootstrap is installed. Let's install Font Awesome. So Font Awesome, because I'm going to use it for some of the icon fonts that are going to be on your menu bar or your nav bar. Okay, good. Here's Font Awesome. I'm going to use the third one down. So if I go Font Awesome, it's not going to be the first one. It's not going to be the second one. It's going to be the third one. This one. And click Install. All right, and good. It's going to install that stuff. And that's the second thing. And now what I want to do is I want to go to updates. And if you notice, there are, if I click the X, it will take the filter away. And you can see that there are several updates. I want to do these ones first because this has nothing to do with jQuery. Click Update, these last two. All I'm doing is updating my packages so that they're the latest packages from Microsoft, right? Because even though I'm using the latest Microsoft version, remember that the template that I'm using is old, right? It was shipped with Visual Studio 2015, Update 3, and they keep updating stuff on the web. The web is constantly evolving. It's constantly moving. and updating. Okay, jQuery, I cannot put the 3.1. It says that, let's upgrade to 3.1. It will not work with Bootstrap. You have to upgrade, right? But if I click update, you can see on the right, there is other versions you can choose. And one of them is I want to use update, the version is 2.2.4. That's the one I want to go with jQuery and click install, which is going to update jQuery from 1.9.1 to 2.2.4. So that's the latest version of jQuery. Okay, cool. So I've got everything I need from a packages perspective. Notice it did create additional stuff. In my content, there's this stuff. In my fonts, there's the stuff for Font Awesome. In my scripts, there's also a bunch of stuff in here for Bootstrap and jQuery. Okay, that's what you should have right now. So basic project structure, right? Are you with me? I know some people have probably fallen behind because you did it yourself or you're using some other project. Please do not use your project from Lab 1, all right? You need to rename that thing so it says Assignment 1 or call it your bio, your portfolio, whatever you want to call it, but it cannot be Lab 1. Please don't hand me a Lab 1 because you'll lose marks for that. Okay, so I got assets, I got content, I got folder, I got models, I got scripts. These are all good. Don't delete anything from here, okay? Now I want to continue to add stuff. I need a master page. Remember, what's a master page? We talked about this last week. It's, okay, so say it. Main page that controls another page. No, not really. Other pages, no. It's what? Default template. I like that. It's almost like it provides a consistent look and feel for your website. So if I create a master page, I want to put there the most common elements on my page, okay? And we're going to talk about how the master page works a little bit more today because I got lots of questions about the master page last week through email and directly through Slack, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So I want to create my master page right now. So I'm going to right-click on my project, and I'm going to go Add, New Item. It's the long way to do it. And I want to search under Master. So if I type Master in here, it's going to filter so I only see a few things. Web form with master page, web forms master page, web forms master page nested. I want to click this one, web forms master page. Notice on the bottom it gives you a default name of site 1. Let's just call it site.master. That's on the bottom here, the name, site.master, and click add. Okay, this makes a master page, but it's pretty ugly, right? Because it doesn't include Bootstrap, and it has an additional placeholder that we don't need right now. Notice there's a placeholder in the head of the document and a placeholder in the body of the document. And someone asked me today, you asked me today, what's a placeholder? If I put stuff in the placeholder, will it teleport to the other pages? No, it won't. It actually works the other way around. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's draw it out. So I'm going to make a new, and I recommend for designing logos and stuff like that, if you have access to Illustrator, you can't go wrong if you know how to use it. Photoshop is like, you can do logos with there. I mean, again, it's a kind of a killer app to use. Fireworks is a lightweight app that I use, but you can use any vector drawing or graphic application like GIMP or Inkscape, which are 2 free apps that you can download. And I kind of talked about these last time, but GIMP or Inkscape, you can use those things. Inkscape's more like Illustrator, and GIMP is more like Photoshop, okay? They're free apps you can download, and there are plenty of tutorials online for how to use them to make your application. Okay, let's go Fireworks. And I'm not going to use Illustrator because most of you will not have Illustrator, or not because I don't know how to use it. Illustrator is awesome, but it's too complex for some of you. File, we're going to File, New. And in Fireworks, I'm going to decide on the page size that I want to do for today. Just to give you my demonstration, I'll make it 1,000 by 1,000, just a drawing area where I can draw to, and we'll modify the canvas and make the canvas color white, all right, so that we can kind of draw to this thing. And I can zoom in here as an example by Control or Command and scroll in and out with your mouse, all right? So if I scroll in and out, press Command or Control, and if I zoom in, if I scroll in and out with my mouse, I can actually zoom in on what I'm looking at. Okay, so why am I doing this? Because I want to show you, as an example, what it looks like. So imagine this is the master page. I've got the master page right here. Here's my master page, and let's make these some borders. How about that? Here's borders for the master page. How about a border of 4? There we go. Here's my master page. And the master page has things like the nav bar. right? So here's my nav bar. I'm going to put my nav bar here. This is what the master page has. And also it has my foot bar, my footer, right? There's what this is, right? And you might also have some other common elements on the page. For example, the head and some elements of the body tag, right? So let's say you have another section over here that has additional stuff. One of them, inside the body tag, you're going to have something called the content placeholder, right? This area here, right? This is the content placeholder. It's only in the body tag. You can also put one in the head. I don't recommend that you do that. But inside the body tag, and I'm going to just say this is my content placeholder. And I'll type it in a second. Hold on. I'll change that so I can actually see the text. I'll make it black, right? I don't know why everything's appearing white, but that's okay. Here's my content placeholder. Tom, not placeholder. Placeholder. There we go. So my content placeholder is really right here, this one here. And I'll make this, modify my canvas so it's a little bit larger for the canvas size. We'll go with a 2000 wide. There we go. This is my content placeholder, right? So if you notice, I'm gonna make an arrow to it. So this is my content placeholder. From here, it goes to there, right? Now you might think that the content placeholder, right, is exactly what I need. I put some stuff in the content placeholder and it goes to the website, my content pages. But actually, it's the other way around, right? What I really have is here's my content page. This is my master page. Here's my content page, right? Think about this as me drawing on the board, by the way, guys and girls. This is what I'm doing it so that it's recorded for you guys. Here's my content page. So let me kind of type that in too. So this is my master page, right? And I'm also going to have, so this is my master page, and this is my content page, right? So copy, paste, right? Content page. All right, here's my content page. And my content page, all it has actually is a content placeholder, which looks like this at the beginning. It has actually something called a directive at the top, and inside there it has a content placeholder. I don't know why I did that. It has a content placeholder that looks like this, right? Well, guess what? The stuff that's in the content placeholder, guess where it goes? In here. So whatever I put in my content page goes inside there. That's what happens. It takes this stuff, whatever I put in there, if it's a little or a lot. For example, if I make this one, if I put a lot of content inside this page, doesn't matter how much I put, if I put this much content in the page, right? It's still going to go in there, right? If I put a little content in the page, like one line, it's still going to go in there inside the master page. Now, this isn't exactly what happens. These two pages combine in the server, on the server side. They combine, let's undo that. These two pages combine to create the final rendered page, okay? The final rendered page, which is going to be here, all right? Here's the final page, right? And we're just going to take this thing. So this is the rendered page, we'll call this, right? There's your rendered page, right? It takes these two things, right? And I call it render because this is what's drawn. Think about this is the page that's being drawn. I said modify canvas size. We'll make that 2002. Lots of them. And we'll move everything up just a touch so we have more room. There. So this rendered page, this one, right, is created, but it's done after this stuff happens at the server. So all of this stuff is at the server side. So this is all here, right? And we'll just make that transparent so it's not, there's no color, right? So all this stuff is server side, right? Means all this processing stuff happens server side. This stuff combines, content page combines with the master page to create your render page. And what happens is the server responds with the rendered page. That's what happens. So if I want this content page, let's say the content page is called default.aspx, it'll take this content placeholder, whatever we put in the content placeholder with the master page to create the rendered page that we see. That's how it works, okay? So why am I telling you this again? Because people ask all kinds of crazy questions, like, not just like your question, but other questions are like, I don't get it. I don't get how the master page flows. Like I don't understand how master pages go. Master pages are like the lifeblood of web forms. If you don't have web form master pages, you know, and if you try and work in the industry, you actually go and work somewhere and you don't know about master pages, they'll be like, what did your teacher teach you? Like it's kind of bare bone building blocks, right? Content pages and master pages are required when you have a page, because master pages, if we didn't have master pages, we'd have to duplicate our nav bar and our foot bar and anything else we want that are common controls on every content page, which is a waste, right? Whereas if we only have it one time, it gives us the same look and feel across all the pages, right? That use that same master page. Any questions around master pages and content pages and the render page at the end? Yes. Yes. So right here, see this? So think about if I was going to make a web page by itself without a content page, I would probably just do it right here, right? All my content would be inside. Now notice that my content placeholder is inside my form. Because we're doing web forms, every control we make is inside of a form tag. We do that at the master page because we don't want to do new form tags inside of our content page. That doesn't make any sense. And we're only allowed one form tag per page. That's the requirement, right? If you put more than one form tag in a page, it'll mess up. It'll be weird, right? Actually, it'll give you validation errors, right? If you don't do it this way. Now, again, one form tag that runs at the server is what I'm talking about. Not one. You can use multiple forms. Like if I have a search form in my nav bar, that's okay. I can also have a form somewhere else too. But one form that actually renders at the server, okay? It doesn't render. You can't have multiple forms that render at the server. Also, this is wrong. Our content placeholder, it's called content placeholder 1. Let's change this content placeholder 1 to main content. This is our main content. Notice I also took away, I'm going to take away this content placeholder in the head of my document because I don't need it. I don't think I'm going to have anything else that goes in there right now. So this is my own, I'm just doing this right now. I don't need a content placeholder in the head. I'm also going to have in my master page, like I said, I'm going to define a CSS section where all my CSS is going to go like normal, right? Like we normally make pages. And also down on the bottom of my body, below my content placeholder and my form, right? Inside the body, I'm going to have another area that's going to be my scripts section, right? This is my the script section. In here, right, in this content placeholder area, this is going to be my main content. So the div tag probably could be renamed to main, right? Which is probably a very nice HTML tag that we can use. And so therefore, this would be our main content. So you can actually put that in there. So we'll use a little bit of a comment that says main content. This is where it's going to go, right? But we also need a nav bar, and our nav bar is probably going to be in here too. I like to do this a lot of times. Just comment in what you want. So here's our main nav, main navigation, right? What else did we forget? A footer, which is going to be before my scripts but below my main content, right? So here's my footer, right? Right? Okay, so that's all the stuff that I would have in my main page. I haven't done my main navigation yet. Remember, we talked about building that, and we haven't done my footer yet, but I'll build that too, right? Now, I'm focusing on my site master because I don't want to duplicate everything that later on when I put my stuff together, right? So again, I'm building this from scratch one more time so you guys can see the process a little bit slower than I did last week, right? So that way you can see it again. So I need these things. Now, again, I recommend you use Bootstrap because it's there to use and it's not a CSS course. We're learning about ASP.NET. So you can certainly go to bootstrap.com. If I look at getbootstrap.com, and if I look at, there's a couple of sections. You can look at CSS or components. I can also look at getting started. Getting started is a good place to start. If I go getting started with Bootstrap, and if I scroll down, there's an example of a page that it gives you right here. Here's my page example in Bootstrap. We'll move this a little bit down. There we go. Okay, take a look, right? Well, there's a couple of meta tags I need. I'm going to take all these meta tags. I might as well take all these meta tags from the Bootstrap site, right? And then I'm going to just flip over to this one, and I'm going to put my meta tags inside the head of my document. So here's this. I need those things. I'm not going to copy that. I'm not going to do this from scratch if I don't have to, right? And I don't have to because Bootstrap is there, right? Okay, I'm not going to change my title. I don't need that, right? And it gives me some head and hello world and all that stuff. I don't need this. So I can skip away from my getting started. That's the only thing I wanted from getting started. Okay, CSS. Let's take a look at what it has here in Bootstrap. On the right, buttons, images, helper classes, all kinds of stuff that you can do. It also explains nicely the grid system, which is a 12-column grid. I want you to think about the grid system split up into 12 columns, right? There's the columns, and there's different ways you can do it, but they all have to add up at the end to 12 maximum. So each column is approximately, like I said before, about 8% of your entire container. So if your page is this wide, I can have 12 columns, or I can have 8 and 4, or 3 columns of 4, or whatever combination to make it, like 2 6s, 2 5s, and 2 1s. Something that adds up to 12, guys and girls, okay? 12-column grid, very popular way of doing things. And if you don't like Bootstrap, I'll put it out there for you guys, and you want to use an alternate responsive design framework, I do recommend looking at something like Foundation, right? By Zurb, right? Foundation, and they've come up with Foundation 6. It's an alternate. If you want to make your site look a little different, this uses Foundation as opposed to Bootstrap. You still get a responsive web experience, but it uses Foundation. And you have to obviously use different, if you were going to go into it, you'd have to go into your NuGet package manager again. And instead of Bootstrap, right, I would browse for Foundation, right? Now, no, you might think, well, they don't have it, but actually they do. Foundation from Zurb, right? If I put Zurb, you might be able to find Foundation. There it is, Foundation 4. And there might be even Foundation, there's Foundation 5. And there might be even Foundation 6 if you want to look at Foundation 6. So if I go in Foundation 6, let's try Foundation 6. Might even have it now. Maybe they don't. It's too new. There you go. There's Foundation 5. So Foundation 5 is fine. It's almost like Foundation 6, but it's very similar to Bootstrap. It's just not as common as Bootstrap. Bootstrap is more common. The other one is there's something called material design that Android applications use right now, and that's an alternate to Foundation and Bootstrap. It's becoming very popular. So if I go with material, and there is Material Design Lite is what it's called. So if I go Material Design Lite, right? That's the one you want to use. And Material Design Lite, again, you have to go to the Material Design Lite website for guidance on how it works, right? And if I was going to show you what that is, here's Material Design Lite. So if I search for Material Design Lite, Material Design Lite, right? That's the other one. And I don't think it's wrong to use Material Design Lite as well. It's really cool. It's very, if you're someone who does Android applications or something, you can see that there are all kinds of examples on how to make buttons. These are the button styles and everything else. It's a different look and feel than Bootstrap. So if you don't want to just do pure Bootstrap and you want to try something else, Foundation or Material Design Lite is another option, right? I'm not going to stop you from doing this. What I will stop you from doing is if you go someplace like Theme Forest, right? Please don't go to Theme Forest, right? And download, a Bootstrap template. Okay, don't do this. I will detect it. I know about it, right? I'm not dumb, right? I can always go and figure out where you got your template. For example, if I look at Theme Forest for something like Portfolio, which is something that probably some of you will do, right? Then you're going to see a responsive portfolio. And if I go Portfolio with Bootstrap, I'm sure that I can find that too, right? Please don't download this. This is not what I'm asking for. Can I look at this to get ideas? Sure you can. That's okay. I mean, you can see what gives you an example of what it can do, right, with Bootstrap. But please do not use any kind of template that you download. Even if you have to pay for this, it's not really worth your money. Do it on your own. You have more to learn from doing it that way. Okay? And remember, this is something else. Even if you downloaded the Bootstrap portfolio, you have to make it work with ASP.NET, which is a totally different experience than if you did it by yourself, right? So example, if I really wanted to go there, if I said ASP.NET, if I try to do that, you're going to see some far into the desert where there's nothing, right? Yes. don't recommend to use two different frameworks, one or the other. So either Foundation or Bootstrap or Material Design, don't mix them up because all of them use some kind of grid system, right? So it doesn't make any sense. Foundation also uses a 12 column grid, right? So please don't combine them, one of those three. And I'm going to be talking about Bootstrap because it's easy, not because it's the best, right? It's just easy to do. Foundation is fantastic, all right, as well. It's very popular and very neat, but we're using Bootstrap in this course. Okay, components. I want to get my nav bar. I did this last time. I want to put my nav bar together. So let's put my nav bar, and I'm going to copy it, the whole thing, and I'm going to remove stuff I don't need. So here's my copy, my nav bar under components. Notice this is an example of what my nav bar would look like, right? I'm telling you all this because one day when we do an exam, I'm going to ask you to put stuff together. You need to know where to get everything, right? All right, maybe I'll give you a template. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel by then. No. Let's paste that in. So here's my entire nav bar, right? But I don't need all of it, right? Remember what I talked about. I'm just going to kind of control everything, Control A, and I'm going to format my selection so it's all tabbed in properly, all right? Notice that I don't need all this stuff. I do need this part, up to here where it says collapse nav bar collapse. Before my line 31, you need all this stuff. But the first UL, because I want my nav bar to have my links on the right side, this one is on the left side, the way it is. So I want to get rid of the first UL plus, under a list, plus the first form, all right? Because there's a form that's a search form, so I can use it to search around. I want to get rid of those two things. So this, up until here, want to get rid of. I don't need all that stuff. The other thing is I don't need another UL inside my UL for this drop-down list, because I'm not going to do a drop-down list. So get rid of that too. So now my nav bar is actually quite small. It looks like this, right? And notice that it's nav bar right. So it's gonna put everything to the right. And instead of my nav bar being the default nav bar, I want my nav bar to be the inverse, because I want to use inverse. There we go. I also have to include Bootstrap and Font Awesome and all that, and jQuery all of my site too, which I haven't done yet. All right, but I'm just going to do the nav bar first. I'm just going to replace the elements of my page. Okay, that's one. Now these links obviously are going to be the ones that I'm going to replace. These are all the links right here. So let's do that. So I'll make this bigger so you can see it for a second. There we go. So this link right here, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it and paste it and paste it and paste it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links. So this will be home, right? Like we said before, this will be projects, services. Other places might have gallery, you know, whatever. You know, this is about, my about page, and this is contact. Again, this is very simple. I'm going to make this one my default .aspx page, and this one's going to be my projects. I'm just going to put my links. This is my in the hashtag. That's where my links are going to go. Again, for people who haven't done web in a while, and or had another teacher, you may have not done it this way. You may have like dragged and dropped, you know, or something like that. We don't do drag and drop in this class unless we absolutely have to, right? We do it by hand. Services.aspx. We don't have these pages yet, but we will, right? And then this will be about.aspx, and this is all review from last week. .aspx, right? There we go. So save those. I know that I'm also, last week I did all these active pages to know which page I'm active on. And so I know that I'm going to have to do that with my list items. I remember what I did last time. I created an ID of home with a run at server. I want to do a run at server because later on what I want to do is I want to be able to switch between the pages. I'm going to include that little functionality too, right? By including that link inside my page, I got to just give them a different ID. So this will be, of course, projects, right? This will be services. This will be about, and this will be contact. That's just the name of my ID that refers to these links, right? Make sense? So that's kind of my links. I'm always starting to build up my navigation scheme, right? All right, let's add my navigation up here. And then I'll upload this to GitHub so you can see it all, right? I'm building my basic framework. So in my CSS section, this is a great place to drag and drop. If you're going to drag and drop anything, it's going to be here, right? So again, I want bootstrap.min.css. You can also type it by hand if you want, a link with an href of content. Notice the content is where I'm getting bootstrap.min.css. Underneath that, I'm going to have my Bootstrap theme, bootstraptheme.min.css. There it is. And underneath my Bootstrap theme, I'm going to put in my font awesome, because then I can use font awesome too. I also would like to always include inside my content page a style sheet, and if I can do it the long way now, so I'll say style sheet, right? Put style sheet, so style sheets right here. You can also use less and sass if you really want to, if you're someone who likes to use less and sass. You know, again, it's up to you. I'm not going to call this style sheet.css. We'll call this thing app.css because that's where it's going to go. And notice that my body tag will be empty. I'm just going to put in some comments that basically say custom CSS goes here. I'm going fast because you've seen this before last week, right? I'm going to build this up for you so you've seen it a second time. All right, so this is my content's done. I'm going to go to my scripts and I'll do the same thing. I'm going to say add. Since I'm in the adding mode, might as well add a new JavaScript file. And we'll call this I'll call this app.js. And at the top of my app.js, I'll do the same thing. I'll just put in a little comment that says custom JavaScript goes here, right? If we put anything in there. Right now we have nothing. Okay, cool. So you got my app.js, and this is a great place on the bottom, all the way to the bottom of my page, in my where it says my script section. I'm going to put in some scripts. I need them to make Bootstrap work. The first one is my jQuery 2.2.4.min.js, right? And as well as my bootstrap.min.js. We'll put that in there. And then underneath my Bootstrap and my jQuery, I want to put in my app.js just in case I have any custom scripts. There we go. So as you can see, I'm framing my master page. I'm working on my master page first, and I want to give you a big snapshot for this thing. Let's go back. So take a look at what it looks like from a snapshot. It's hard to see, but think about the top of my page. Here's my header. That's something that's only existing in my master page. You will not see a header, a head tag at all in the content page. It won't exist. All right. Same thing with this part, the part that's underneath my form tag. Anything above or below my form tag, this part here, anything below, above and below here, will not be rendered. Right. Well, I will not put it. I don't need to put it again in my content pages. It'll already be in my site master. And we're going to smash these two things together and put them together later. Okay. So I've got most of my stuff done. I didn't add my font awesome yet. I'm going to test it first before I get there. But I do need some kind of footer, right? And I know that if I want to get a sticky footer going, I can also look at my Bootstrap. We did this last time. If I scroll down, you can see that I have buttons and text and nav links and stuff like that. And then, look, this is what you wanted. This is fix the top. When you fix the top, it'll give you, and you can change the transparency of your nav bar, your main nav, so that way it looks like it's floating on top of your content, right? If you want to do that, fix the top. I can also fix the bottom, which is really what I want to do. So I want to take this idea of a nav bar, so copy, and then go back to my pages here in Visual Studio and paste, right? And Control A. I'm going to do this again, and I want to format selection for a second, and I'm going to zoom in here again so you can see it. So here's my footer bar. I have a container with ... doesn't mean anything. I need to get rid of this thing in my container and put something in there that makes sense. So here's my footer bar. It's navbar fixed bottom, and what I want to put in here is some kind of H4 tag, let's say with a and copy. Remember I did this last time, the copyright, which is copyright, 2016. We'll replace 2016 today, and then all rights reserved, right? You might want to put something else in here, like for example, the name of my site, like example ASP.NET site, right? All rights reserved, right? There you go. Same thing with my brand. If you notice my navbar brand just says brand, right? Don't leave it like that. Change your brand so it says like something else, like your logo should go in here. Example ASP.NET site. That's what your brand is going to say, and this one should point back to your default page, right? Default.aspx. Remember that by default.aspx, sorry to say it that way, is the site or the page that appears first when you launch your application, all right? Okay, so we've got our basic master page, but we're missing a couple things. To make my sticky footer bar work, notice what it says here on Bootstrap. It says, I need padding of about 70 pixels for the bottom. So I'm going to take this padding of 70 pixels for the bottom to make it sticky, copy it, go back, right, as an example to here, and I want to go into my app.css and add this in, right, this padding bottom, right, so that way I have met the requirements. Otherwise, it won't work properly. Right, there we go. So padding bottom, right, in my body tag. I'm just following, look, I'm just following what it says here in Bootstrap, right? I'm not making this up. Okay, cool. So we've got our padding on the bottom. We've got our footbar. It's a good place to check to see if it works, but we don't have a content page. I can't do any checking unless I have all my content pages. Let's make all of them right now, right? And it's going to be very simple to do because we're going to make one and then do the same thing over and over again, right? So how do I make content pages? Same thing. I'm going to right-click on my project. I'm going to go Add, and I'm going to go to, again, there's two ways. There might be the quick hit section of your menu. You might say Web Forms with Master Page, right? Or you can go to New Item for the first time, and if I look for Master again, right, you're going to see that a few of them are going to come up. The first one is what you want, Web Form with Master Page. And the first master page I want to make is, of course, the default page. Default. Okay. There we go. Here's my default page. Let's make them all. Right. So I'm going to default page, and I'm also going to do the quick hits, which I'm going to use in my menu. Once you've done a default page one time, and notice that the title here should say Home. Right. That's one thing I'm changing. You can also add additional content in here. For now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to right-click and add the other ones. Notice that if I go Add, now they appear in the quick hit section down here. So I say Web Forms is Master Page, and I'll call this Default, which is Home, and then Products, and this, in your case, is Projects, right? Projects. I think I made it right. Maybe I didn't. I'll do the same thing. I'll modify it. If I put Products, I'll change the Projects. Add new Master Page. Web Form with Master Page, Services, we do have a Services, and then add Web Forms with Master Page, About, and then last one, add Web Forms with Master Page, Contact. There we go. So we got all our pages in place. They're empty, but I got them all. And I just want to change my titles so they match. So my About is going to be About, right? My Services is going to say Services, and the title inside my directive. That's what this first line is. It's a directive, the page directive, right? And my Projects, okay, in here is going to say Projects. And of course, I think I've got them all. Services, Projects, About, Contact, and Home. Am I missing something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 5 pages. Good. Okay, so I've got all of them. Let's just make sure my site master. We'll take a short break after this. Let's make sure my site master says projects and not products. I did. I said projects. See, I was smart. I said projects, not products. There we go. All right, let's run this thing because we should test it before we save it to GitHub, right? So we got, this is our basic template. This is our basic boilerplate that we're using. Think of it that way, right? And I'm going to build off of this again and again, right? So here we go. Look, home, projects, services, about, and contact. Okay. Here's my example ASP.NET site. And if you notice on the bottom, I have a footer bar that's fixed. Okay, it's fixed to the bottom. So I've got my basic framework. If you guys had this much, all right, you still wouldn't have had a check today, right? A check, you guys should have done this, no problem. We made this last week. You could have modified what you had and come to this point, right? To make a check, I need a logo, some kind of logo, and I need to have something up here to make this more interesting, which is my font awesome stuff. Let's add those in, then we'll save it. I swear. Huh? Yeah. No, no, one time. Extensions and updates only happens one time, and that's for Visual Studio, not for, it's not project specific, it's Visual Studio for the whole Visual Studio. No, unless someone wiped it out or redid it up. Would not work? Font Awesome is not an extension. It's a you're using NuGet Package Manager as a package. So that's different than an extension. Right, so that's the, this one is for, again, FA home, FA large. For the, I have to put it in an I tag for font awesome, and I need a space between my icon and the link text, okay? I need that, so copy. I'm gonna put them a bunch of places, paste. I'm gonna just change it afterwards. So we can do this. Get you guys almost there. We're gonna call this the same name in a second, right? Now, instead of projects, there's projects and services. I definitely want to do FA for services, maybe some kind of gear. I believe this one is TH, right? For about, we'll use info, and for home, I'll use a phone. Or for contact, I'll use phone. There we go. So I got them all. And you know what? For our default, right? For our, I'll even put one for our, in here. So let's just copy this whole thing. And we'll call this FA Fort Awesome. I think that's what it's called, Fort Awesome. There we go, Fort Awesome. FA large, right? There we go. Let's run this thing, see how it looks now, right? After I've changed my icons. By the way, if I pick the wrong icons, it'll give me an error, right? So don't worry about that. But it should give me some icons. There goes, there's my Fort Awesome. There's my stuff. Did I give it a space there, or did I miss it? Let's go back. I did not. There we go. I missed that one, so give it a space, save. And what I can do is, because I'm running it in, just if you want to update anything in while you're running the page, I can just refresh, and it should work. It should refresh this thing and push it to the side. I just want a little bit of space there. There you go. All right. So I've got my icons. I think most of them are spaced out. Maybe about looks a little tight. Let's take a look at that. Again, I can look at the about icon and see if I messed up. Could have. Oh, looks pretty good. You know, I mean, again, I can add additional spaces. If you really want, you can go 2 spaces instead of 1. If you want some separation between your icons and your link text, you can do that by adding a couple spaces. And then, of course, go back here and refresh. And it should kind of give you a little bit of space between one and the other, which is really what I want. There we go. It's pretty much the same. Okay, so I've got my contact, my stuff. I got a little logo. Instead of an icon, obviously use something else. Use a real logo. And I don't need this. If I have my logo, I don't need my example ASP.NET site. One or the other for your assignment, right? I'm just using a logo here to show you that I can do it anywhere I want, not just in these places, right? Okay, so but I got no content. But I know that on the top, you can see the title. I can go to projects, and then services, and then about, and then contact, right? So you can see all the sites are the titles for everything are working. Contact, and then about. Oh, what happened? I forgot my contact. Let's take a look. So I'm saying these are things I got to test before I go on, right? Because I forgot. And if I don't have that, it won't work. Contacts. Right? If I can spell properly. There you go. All right. So I've got all these pages, and I've got them working, but I want the pages to tell me where they're at. I want to set that active pages thing. I did this last time, and I'm going to do it on my site master because remember, it's going to be site-wide. Anything I want to happen site-wide in my site master. Anything I want page-specific in my content page. That's where it's going to go, right? So my site master, again, if you look at it, it also has, there's 2 parts. Every web form has 2 parts. The front part, which is your ASPX page, and the code behind file, which ends in .cs. The .cs means C#, right? So if you notice my site master, it also has a sitemaster.cs page. I'm going to double click. It's going to give me here. In my page load event, I did this last week as well. I want to detect which page I'm on, and I'm going to use the page.title to do that. So remember I did this. I said switch. And then I'm going to switch what? Page title, page.title. There we go. Here's my page title. And in my page title, I did this a long way last time too. I want to say case. If my title is home, then I want to do something, right? And then case, if my title is projects, then I want to do something. And I can do the same thing. I'm just going to copy paste now. So to give you an idea, copy, paste, and one more. Copy one more. I have another one. There we go. And make sure that they're not the same, right? It can't be the same one. So projects, services, about, and contact. These are my the page names, right? And then also underneath this, I'm going to say, well, guess what? I'm going to look at. I'm going to say home. I can see my home link. My home. The reason why I did text home is because on my site master, in my LI, I said, hey, make an ID for this list item of home. Now you could call it home link if you really want to make it more descriptive, right? My home link on my nav bar, I'm going to run everything at server. It wouldn't appear unless I put run at server. Run at server is key if I want to be picked up on the server side, right? So here's home.attributes.add, and if it gives me this string key value pair, and again, I want to add a class, and the value is active. And this is going to be the same. And again, I'm going to challenge you. This is not the most effective way or efficient way of doing it. It's just easy so you can understand it. But at the end of the day, I'm repeating myself. And remember, like I said, the dry means don't repeat yourself, right? That's kind of a methodology, if you will, best practice. So this basically says, hey, when I'm on the home page, make that the class of active, my home link. And it can't be home. This has got to be projects. And this has got to be services. And this is going to be about. And this is going to be contact. So all I'm doing is saying, hey, take a look at the home link and add a class of active. Take a look at the projects link and add a class of active when the title of my page is projects or home or services or whatever. Change the active link. So I'm moving from one link to the other. That's what this is doing, right? Okay, cool. This is good, but it's not good here. I want to extract this into its own method, right? And you guys should know about C#. I'm going to go into edit, and I'm going to go refactor, and I'm going to extract method, and I'm going to call this set active page, right? And click apply, right? So when the page loads, that's what happens in the page load event, right? When a page loads, I'm going to call the set active page method, which is going to check to see which page it is and set the active page. I'm going to add a class to the list item temporarily while I switch between pages. That's what this is doing. Okay, save. And let's run this thing to see if it works. And you guys should have this from last week, right? But I'm reminding you because this is what I built. You don't have to do it this way. There's many other ways to do it. Okay. When I run it, now you should see that the home page is highlighted more black. This is kind of a dark charcoal gray. If I click on projects, that's highlighted. Services, that's highlighted. So it tells you what page I'm on depending on what I'm clicking. That's important, right? To give me some kind of notion of or feedback to tell the user what link they're on just by looking at the nav bar, right? Doesn't matter whether you do the nav bar this way or if you do the nav bar this way, it's the same. It should give you should give the user a notion of where they are on the in the site, right? Okay, one more thing. I probably need some small page content on each one of the pages before I start. So here's my contact page, right? We'll start with this one. And this will just be an H1 tag with contact me, because that's what it is. It's not contact us, it's contact me because, and this is be about me. So here's H1 tag with maybe about me, right? And we'll do services. But what do you think it's going to be here? It's not going to be our services. What is it going to be? It could be my services. It could be services I offer. Services I offer. It could be that too, right? This is all about your page. Make it so that it's it makes sense, right? And you know, example projects, right? And maybe my home page which says welcome, right? So welcome to my page. Welcome to my page, right? And you could obviously want to say something else about you, right? So if I run this now, I added a little bit of content, and I added it in the content placeholder of each of the content pages, right? So that's going to be combined with the site master to render each of the final pages on the client side, right? So notice this says welcome to my page, but there's a problem, isn't there? welcome to my page is on the left, and so is projects and services and about and contact. Why? I'm not using Bootstrap. I can use Bootstrap to push this over, and I did this last week as well, right? Just to finish off my recap, right? If I go to my default page, you can see that welcome to my page, but there's nothing around that. At the very minimum, what you could do is put a div tag, and we talked about Zen coding or Emmet as a shortcut, right? We did this last time too. I put div with a class of container. Remember that dot means class, right? That's a shortcut for class. And then greater than sign means and inside of that container, I want to have a div with a class of row. And inside of that, I want to have a div with a class of column-medium-offset. And again, something like a 4, let's say. We'll do 4 this time. We did 6 last time, right? And then inside that, we'll add in another class. There's 2 classes, column, medium, and then maybe 6. So we'll say something like that. Okay, and then press tab, and it'll expand all that. And we'll take this little content that we have in here, we'll cut it, and we'll put it over in there. And we'll just space it down so it makes sense. So all I'm doing is here is making it so that it's spaced out properly, right? Now, to make this really quick, I'm going to take this whole thing, copy it, and then just replace the H1 tag with my contents. I'm going to just go below this, above this, paste. I'm going to take this part, don't kill it, and just replace my content. And same thing with this. I'll take this piece and do the same thing. Now this is the stuff that I want you to learn how to do, because in the future, if you use ASP.NET to design client sites, you're going to have some kind of templating tool that you're going to use, even if it's your own templates, right? It may not be my template. You might design your own, but something that you use over and over again. I have students of mine, that's what they do. They make templates. I'll fix that. They make templates and they make money. One of my students has made $12,000 this year alone on making templates for other people to use, right? And he sells them on ThemeForest, right? So I highly recommend that you learn how to make templates. There's money to be made for sure. The other thing is, when you work in a professional environment, they'll probably provide you with some templates because you want to provide a same look and feel. Sometimes people include that in their style guide. They'll have a template that they reference because they want to give your each of their sites the same look and feel, as opposed to it looking different if you're going to go update their site. Because most of our work we do on the web is not greenfield projects. We don't create our own stuff. Most of the stuff we do is revision work. That's what we do on the web. 90% of the stuff we do is revision work. We revise somebody else's site. We take their content and we spin it in a different way, but we don't make new stuff typically, right? Or we add stuff. We add another page, or we add functionality, but we don't typically have the opportunity to make brand new pages. We don't do that typically. Not to say that we don't do it, and if your mother, uncle, cousin's brother asks you to do a site for them, right? What are you going to say? You're going to say, no, I'm not going to do it for you because I don't work for family. That's what you're going to say, because family will screw you up, right? They won't pay you, or they'll try and make you feel like you shouldn't be charging them, right? So don't do the work for those people. And if they really insist, charge them double, right? Am I wrong? Charge them double. Charge them double. Charge them double. Right? I'm saying don't work for family. If they insist, charge them double. Right? Right? Otherwise, they'll try and get you to work for nothing. Right?
Oh, family? No, you charge them triple.
Triple. That's right. Okay. And of course, I was trying to talk without the headphones. You're all good to go. I'm still recording.
Yeah.
Take care, brother.
Oh, so next Tuesday, my webcam programming class got canceled because of Paint the Town Green. Have you not heard of that yet?
No.
So every class on Tuesday is canceled. Yeah, that's true. Every single one of them. Yeah.
Give me a call later on if you got my number, right?
Yeah.
Call me. Okay, let me finish this off. All right, so does that make sense? So what we've talked about is, and I'm not joking around. You guys might think I'm joking when I say don't do work for family, but there's a reason for this, and I want to talk about this really quickly because we're going to talk about the business aspect for a second. So one day, someone is going to come out to you and say, Like your cousin or your uncle's gonna say, hey, you know, Rudvik, where's Rudvik? Rudvik, can you do the site for me? Because I'm your uncle. You can do it for me? And you're gonna say, you know what, I'd love to do it for you, but I'm a little bit too busy, right? And they're gonna say, really, why? Like, I'm busy doing school and you know what, whatever. I'm not saying not to do it for them and whatever, but the thing is, in order for you to work for family, it takes a really strong work ethic. And the reason for that is because they have to, first of all, no one's going to have any respect for you if you do it for free, all right? You're going to devalue yourself. And I'm saying this as a business thing. I know this is not part of our course, but I highly tell you, I'm telling you from experience, don't devalue yourself and do something for free. Charge them. It doesn't have to be double, but charge them. I was joking around. But charge them what you should charge them. If you're going to charge a client money, charge them the same money that you would charge any client. Okay? Don't try and, even if you sharpen your pencil, they might say, well, can you sharpen your pencil and make it a little bit, you know, cheaper for me? You might give them a family discount. The most you're going to give them, honestly, is 10 to 15% because you can't afford it. It's going to cost you more money to do that because remember, it's not making the site that's important. You can make a site for your family, no problem. Do it for free if you want to. But it's actually going to cost you money, number one. The reason why is because one day they're going to ask you to maintain it, to fix it, to do something. And then you're going to be stuck in that cycle doing it for free forever, right? And you don't want that. That's a real pain, right? That's number one. Two, how much are you going to charge? How much would you charge if you're going to make a WordPress site that takes you 5 minutes? I had this question before. How much would you charge? How much? I wouldn't charge for one single WordPress site. I wouldn't charge less than $500. I'm serious, even though WordPress takes us 10 minutes to put together, right? Why? Because they don't know how to do it. If they knew how to do it, right? No, do they know how to do it? They don't know how to do it. So if they knew how to do it, they wouldn't come to you, right? And there's a reason for that. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, don't get me. You might laugh at me, but even if I bought a theme, if I went to Theme Force and I bought a theme for $50, right? I need still to design my site. I need still to add colors. I need still to add images, content, everything. It's not simply something small. It's going to take still 20 hours, 15 hours for the first site, especially if it's a one-page site. You might think it's easy, but actually it's a lot harder than you think, right? Even the first page, you want to make it look awesome, right? So the thing is, you're going to charge a little bit more money. So please don't shortchange yourself. And the rule is, at the minimum, if you're going to have a multi-page site, like a 5-page site, so this 5-page site that you're making for yourself, if you're going to make it for somebody else, another student, now you're going to say, how much would you charge, right? In reality, the student couldn't afford you. That's the reality, right? But let's say you're going to make it for a real person, someone who had they want you to make a portfolio for them. They don't do web, but they're a photographer, and they want you to make a site for them, right? Now, obviously, they're going to give you the pictures and the content. Content does not count. You do not make content. You're not a logo designer. You're not a content maker. That's a copywriter and a photographer, okay, or a graphic artist, right? You are a web developer. That's all you do. You don't do anything else, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you start doing the other stuff for free, again, they're taking advantage of you. That's not your job. They have to give you the content. So let's say they give you the content. I'm still not going to charge any less than, I'll put it out there for you, a couple $100 a link, right? So 5 sites or five pages, really cheap. This is a cheap price, $1,000. You might think that's expensive, but it's not. It's actually quite cheap for what I'm talking about because you're responsible for their brand, you're responsible for maintenance, you're responsible to put it, to host it, email, integration, all that stuff that you have to do on yourself. It's not as easy as you think, right? So please, I'm asking you as one web developer to another, because you guys are all web developers now after today, right? Don't charge $50 for your site or 100 or do it for free because, and what if they say, well, I can go to Wix and get them to do it for free. There's a Wix site I can make. It doesn't cost anything. Then you say, all the power to you. Make it for free. See you later. But you don't want to do it, but Wix is going to do it for them. Do it with Wix, right? At the very minimum, if they ask you to make a Wix site, charge them a good rate, like an hourly rate, if you work for them, right? Like if you work for a company, charge them like $50 an hour or something like that. You know, if you can get away with it, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because don't devalue yourself. I know you guys are laughing at me. $50 an hour, right? No, because you guys know how to do that. You don't know how to lay things out. You can't make it look. If they want to use free tools, they say, well, I know WordPress is free. It doesn't cost anything to download. Yeah, but you need to host it. You need to set it up. You need to modify it. You need to configure it. There's all kinds of work that you have to do that you know how to do as an example that they don't. Same thing with ASP.NET. Look, I made this site just now, right? These links. How long did it take me? 45 minutes to put things together? I'm sorry, how much is my hours worth? 45 minutes, right? You might think there's nothing, but I'm telling you, don't shortchange yourself. Don't do it for free. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. Let's take a 15-minute break, and when we come back, we'll come back with the meat and bones, what we're going to be talking about today. Okay? And I'll put it up on GitHub while we're talking. I'll put it up on GitHub when we come back.